is my poor man's 1960s Honda Race Replica. And I've built it from a 1970s Honda 404, which you might be familiar with. In the 1950s, Honda really wanted to make an impression on the European market. I mean, it was the post-war period, so things were a bit tricky. But one way you could make an impression was to go into road racing. And the biggest event at that time was the Isle of Man TT. Honda entered some bikes. They weren't very successful. They were up against, Norton VSA, Triumph and all the others. But over 5 or 6 years, Honda did more R&D and they started to produce really, really quick bikes. And into the 60s, then they started to win races. And mid-60s, they were really dominating the event, winning classes from 50cc all the way through to 500cc. As well as that, they attracted some of the best riders. Most famous of those was Mike Hailwood. Now for the connoisseurs, this is nothing like a 1960s Honda Race Replica. It has none of the components that were originally used in those bikes. It's all I could afford was to sort of mimic and have a bit of fun. It was the first build I was going to do, and I felt that it was kind of manageable for the rudimentary skills I had. But I did focus on a few features. At the front end, to get the right look, I got rid of the disc brake and fitted a large drum brake. In this case, a relatively cheap Gramica 230. And I also changed the rims for alley flange rims, which were prevalent at the time. Moving up to the fairing, it's got a kind of dome-like shape, unlike modern machines, which are more angular. It's got a little screen for tucking under for your aerodynamics. And a feature on the Hondas was this little scoop area here, which would cool the engine. It's painted in grey. It's got roundels on the side and on the front. The only thing missing from this really is the yellow stripe, which was present on most of the machines of that period. I'll come back to the tank design in a minute, but just talking about the seat, it's a single-seater for obvious reasons. It's a race bike, but for Honda it had this sort of button shape which was synonymous with most of their race bikes. It's in Honda red and it's surprisingly comfortable. At the rear end I've used again the alley flange rims, and I've kept the original drum brake from the 404. It seemed to me that it was very effective and very efficient, and it saved me sourcing another drum brake, making up new linkages and spacers to get it to work. The other thing I've changed really is a friend of mine found some Coney shocks, and with a slight modification I managed to get them to fit. The exhausts are a major feature on the Honda Race Rep, and on this bike it's a 4x4 system, and I managed to get a set off the legendary Dave Schwarbrick, who supplied the 4 downpipes and the 4 megaphones. I then went to Kevin at Zero Exhaust and he managed to baffle them and fit them to the bike. Onto some smaller items. I got the rear sets from Kevin at TTR. I mean, they're beautifully engineered and come with all the fittings for the gear selector and the rear brake mechanism. The other thing is I put on some clip-ons. These have got high risers on, not everybody's cup of tea, but I built this for the road, so I wouldn't be doing 6 laps. I'd be going out for hours, and so it just makes it a bit more comfortable. The instrumentation or dashboard is a very personal choice, really. I had a beautiful old regular rev counter which would be driven from the camshaft, so I utilised that. I also needed a speedo because I'd be using it on the road. I utilised the oil pressure warning light and put in an ignition switch. But it's a personal choice. Most race bikes would just have a rev counter. Moving on to the tank, this shape was synonymous with the 1960s Honda Race Reps, and this one's hand built in aluminium, and they've done a great job. Now it's very long and rectangular from the side view, but from the top it's wide at the front and then narrows down the rear, allowing your knees to be tucked in. It also features a Monza cap and this alley strap which secures it to the bike. It's finished in Honda red and has the Honda wing decals either side. I'll be going into more depth about how I built the bike in a series of video clips I'll put up on our channel. Things like fabrication and tuning was a big issue. And I'll also put up a fact file on our website so you can see where I got all the bits from and contact suppliers and things like that. So if you're interested and want to do a build like this yourself, just subscribe to Hoxton Moto.